Welcome viewers to this session. In this session we will discuss Buddhist philosophy. The last session what we had discussed a brief historical background on Buddhist philosophy. We had discussed that how these four council established, constituted, and what are the books comes out based on the council, and why Buddhism is divided into many groups and what are the reasons. And the last we said that all schools of Buddhism has some common agreement, and what are those common agreement we will discuss today. Just to recapitulate what we had discussed in the previous session is that we said that this Gautama Buddha is the profounder of Buddhism, and after his death his disciples consider his theory, consider his teachings, and try to propagate all over the world. And by doing so they have constituted four Buddhist council. In Buddhist council 1 you have a Sutta Pitaka and Vinaya Pitaka. There are 2 volumes comes out, and all the Buddhist monks practiced the norms, regulation, conditions prescribed in these books. One is Sutta Pitaka, another is Vinaya Pitaka. And in later period another Pitaka comes out that is known as Abhidharma Pitaka. These 3 Pitaka you can find. In the 4th Buddhist council it is realized that whatever norms, condition has already informed, already told to the Buddhist monk, they could not practice as it is, because they found that it is very difficult to practice, and because of different geographical, religious, economic and cultural conditions, many of the Buddhist monks could not practice as it is. Though it was meant that anyone who practice Buddhist theory or practice Buddhist teachings must understand with a rational basis and justification why he or she is doing it. However, it has been noticed in a long period that Buddhist monk could not able to do so, and therefore the last in 4th Buddhist council they have brought out with a new book known as Commentary of Tripitaka. It is known as Vibhasa. So till this much we had discussed in the previous session. In this session we will discuss in continuation to that. Characteristics of Buddhism. The first characteristics you find that aversion to Vedic discussions. Gautama Buddha born as a Hindu and also practice all the ritual, sacrifices, norms, condition as a Hindu supposed to do it. He has done that, and also died as a Hindu. In his period he found that many of the teachings we the human being accept by saying that it is written in Veda. However, these teachings or these issues many times leads to a contradiction. For example, whether the earth is an eternal one or not, the universe is an eternal one or not, whether the body is different from soul or not, in which part of soul makes the human beings alive, or is it the soul responsible to make the human beings alive. So all these issues, if you find that in Vedas, there are 4 Vedas, you know that Ruk, Sama, Yajur, Atharva Veda. In 4 Vedas different people speaks differently explaining all these concepts. So therefore you find many times contradiction, and henceforth it was the Brahmins, priests, who guided all these peoples, saying that if you do this then only you need not to suffer. If you have so and so disease you should pray to this or that god. So all these concepts now become superstitions and blind beliefs for Buddhism. Therefore he clearly rejects that Vedic thought should not be appreciated in its full form. Therefore he constituted, or he thought that new theory he can propagate, which is known as Buddhism, where he can bring some changes which is certainly different from Hindu practices. In this regard he rejects many of the issues or concepts discussed in Veda. Second one is pessimism. If you read the whole literature of Buddhism, you find that Buddhists always emphasize that we the human being, we are suffering in this earth, and this is obvious and very practical. Pessimism means everything you find in a form of misery. For example, you have a good friend now, and after some time that friend is dissociating with you, or you are no more friend with that person, then this leads to suffering. Suppose you do not want to do something, by some or other imposition you are doing that, there also leads suffering. If you take excess foods, you eat something more than your stomach demands, then this also leads to suffering. So therefore, Buddhists clearly emphasize that misery pervades everywhere in this earth, and we the human beings try to get away from that misery. If we cannot devoid from the misery, then the whole life leads to suffering or pain. Therefore, they said that though we suffer while living in this earth, which cannot be avoidable, but however, there is a way, by adopting that way, by inculcating that way, or by practicing the ways, we can siege the suffering or pain that we are having in this earthly life. Therefore, you can see that when they starts with analyzing the concept that how human being suffers, this is a pessimistic view. But when they end that there is a way which leads to the cessation of suffering, there you can consider them as optimistic. Therefore, their views are stretching from pessimism to optimism. Now, the third characteristic in Buddhist philosophy, you find that they are realistic. They are realistic because they talk about something, they talk about some issues which is very real in this earth. Unlike whether the earth is eternal or not, whether the soul dies when the body dies, unlike all these concepts, they talk about that how human being suffers in this earth and how to get rid from all the suffering. So this is the basic aim, which is very realistic approach. No one can deny by living in this earth that we are not suffering, because once you are born, you do not know about the earth since you are a baby. Once you grown up, you find that there are many relations which is surrounded with you. Once you are fallen in the relation, you have to have many rights, many duties, many obligations, many more societal obligations you have to do that, and therefore you are finding a chain. As a result, you have attachment towards the different objects of the world. In other words, your desire to achieve different objects slowly pops up. As a result, it leads to suffer while living in this earth. Therefore, they say that though it is unavoidable that one cannot think that live in this earth without suffering, but on the same time he said that one can practice some of the ways, some of the norms, conditions. As a result, he or she can refrain from sufferings. The fourth characteristics, you find that is a pragmatism. That means he is very practical in its aspect. In all the issues you find in Buddhism, they are very practical. Practical means is nothing to do in an ideal situation. They said that if something has to be done, see that how far it is valid or correct in a practical perspective. For example, you are a student, you have to study hard to pass in the exam, and you have to prepare yourself, you have to confident enough to appear in the interview to get through in a job. If this is so, then Buddhists here prescribe that since you are a student, you must consider this. It is a practical requirement for you to be a confident student, to understand all the issues in a particular course or subject. Then only you could be able to write well in the exam. Then you could be able to answer the questions in the interview. So when a person can build the confidence, once you are very clear in your understanding, once you have understood the concept, once you have an ability to interpret that concept in your own expression. So therefore, if you consider Buddhist approach to the human being, to the world, is very practical. Therefore, they are known as pragmatism. There are three phases also you find in case of Buddhist school. Though Buddhism is divided into different groups, but in all the schools you find there are three phases in all the schools. The first phase is known as realistic and pluralistic phase. What is realistic? As I said, they are very realistic in their nature. That means whatever they are speaking, certainly it has a value, certainly it has a weight for all the human beings, those living in this earth. Therefore, they are realistic. All the Buddhist monks initially they accept that the existence of mind and the existence of matter. Existence of matter means the existence of cosmos, the existence of the universe on which we are living. They said that the existence of mind, a human being exists means a human being must have a mind. Mind means he or she must have a rational thought or rational judgment on an issue. Therefore, if you see that Buddhist philosophy says that one need not to practice all the Buddhist rituals until unless he or she understand why these rituals to be prescribed and what is the benefit of that rituals and how it is different from Hindu rituals, and why at all this cannot be considered as a blind belief, rather it is a rational belief or a justifiable true belief. Once one confirms that this issue or this practice is a rational one and a justified true belief, then he or she has to practice that. So therefore, no imposition. In this context, all the Buddhist monks, all the scholars, they agree that there are two kinds of existence. One is existence of cosmos, on which we all the animals, plants, or living and non-living beings are existing. Therefore, there must be something known as cosmos. So first they agreed that the existence of cosmos, and the second they thought that since we are a human being, we must have a mind, and that's a rational mind. Therefore, all of them agreed that we all are having a valid and rational way of living in this earth. So since they accept these two things, they are pluralistic in nature. One is the existence of mind, another is the existence of cosmos. After some time, the Buddhists realized that nothing is permanent in this earth. Anything that you see in this earth, they are just for a temporary. They are existing for a temporary. Take an example of a table. Now the table you are seeing which is in front of you, it's a very good one with a polished one. Everything is okay, perfectly alright. Having 4 legs, brown in color, each and every components what it is supposed to be, now the table is having. Therefore, the table is perfectly alright for you. Now the same table, if you see after 10 years or 20 years, you find that many things faded away. The color may not be remain as it is, and also the surface won't be that sharp in the 20 years back. See a very common example. Your nail grows. You do not know when it grows. That means things are changing. Your hair grows because you do not know that this period your hair grows or your nail grows. But you know that after some day or after some week your hair and nail grows. That means you are also growing. Since you are growing, every part of your body also growing, including your mind. Therefore, they realize that nothing is permanent in this earth, both living as well as non-living beings. If nothing is permanent in this earth, everything is temporary, then we cannot claim that something exists permanently. Henceforth, they prescribe the view that Shunyavada. Shunyavada means it is just empty. Once you claim something, that thing not remains as it is. An example they have given, like now you are burning a lamp. You can see the flame which is going up. Here Buddha is saying that. Now you see the lamp, and after 1 second you see the lamp. It is not the same lamp, because though kerosene or petrol or diesel, the liquid is involved, there is a fire is involved, there is a lamp which is going off, that is also involved, and there is an instrument on which the fire burns, it is also involved. However, everything is temporary. The light is burning and it is off because of many phases, and you could able to say it because there are many things changing one to another step in a sequential order. If you put all together, then you can find that the lamp is burning particularly. That means first you see that is x1, second you see say x2, the third you see say x3. If you put together x1, x2, x3 and so on and so forth, if you put together, then you find that the same stage. However, each stage is a different one. In this way, they said that nothing is permanent in this earth, henceforth they prescribe the view Shunyavada. The third phase, they realize that if everything is Shunyavada, our mind is also leads to Shunyavada. If this is so, we cannot explain anything is true. We cannot explain anything in a rational basis, say this is a valid argument or invalid argument. We cannot justify even some of the arguments. So therefore, at the last and the later period, they concluded that we need to accept the existence of mind in its minimal form. And once we do not accept the existence of mind, that means we are not accepting that we as a human being exist in this earth. If you do not accept that you have a mind, that means you are no more an human being, you are no more an animal which has a rational attitude, which is a power to take the rational judgment, or who has a power to achieve something good in his or her life. Therefore, they say that we must accept the existence of mind. That is the third page where they said that idealistic phase. One among the other scholars, Buddhist scholar named as Vasubandhu, he said that to deny the mind means to contradict myself. That means we must accept the existence of mind, and without accepting the existence of mind, you cannot prescribe any of the concept, you cannot argue on any of the concept, you cannot theorize any of the concept. Therefore, one needs to accept the existence of mind. Now, in all the schools, though Buddhist monk in the later period divided into groups because of the reasons that I have already discussed with you, but you find that in all the schools there are some commonality. All people agree on some of the views, and these views are presented before you. There are some sorts of agreement found among these three phases, among all the schools of Buddhist philosophy. These are the existence of the Four Noble Truths. What are the Four Noble Truths? They said that when Gautama Buddha realized that one cannot understand what is the true knowledge, one cannot achieve the true knowledge, one cannot attain the wisdom until unless he or she will be detached from the worldly affairs. So therefore, Gautama Buddha realized that, and he renounced from his royal palace, and he had gone to a place known as Kushinara. Under a peepal tree he was doing some dhyana tapasya, and at the age of 80 he realized that there are many things in this world and we need to address on it. And all his preachings, after he getting renunciation at the age of 80, whatever he said about the world, whatever he said about the human being, everything is written in his Four Noble Truths. We will discuss these Four Noble Truths once we will be discussing what are the Four Noble Truths and its further elucidation. But for the present purpose, I would like to share with you that all the schools in Buddhism, they accept that the existence of Four Noble Truths, and they also accept the theory Pratitya Samutpadavada. What is Pratitya Samutpadavada? It speaks that, or it expresses that anything that you see in this world, they dissolve. Once they dissolve, they also appear once again. Everything you see in this world, they dissolve and also appear again. This is called pratitya samutpada. That means nothing is very fixed and independent. Everything is related to other things. One thing is related to another thing. Nothing can exist independently. You as a student, you cannot exist independently without from your teacher. In this way, anything that you see in this world, some or other form is related with the other object. So this is the basic grounding of Buddhist philosophy, pratitya samutpadavada. They also, all the schools also accept the theory khanikavada. Khanikavada means momentariness. Nothing is permanent, everything is changing in a moment to moment. Therefore, they say khanikavada. They also speak about ashtangika marga. What is ashtangika marga? They said that life is full of suffering in this earth. In the pessimism, starts with pessimism, but they end with saying that there is a way leading to the cessation of suffering. That means there are practices, if you do that, you can detach from all the objects of the world henceforth. You won't suffer while living in this earth as well. So then they said that these are the way is nothing but Ashtanga Marga. There are eightfold path. If you practice that, then there are possibilities that you need not to suffer while living in this earth. Then further they said that Anatmavada. Unlike other schools, Buddhists say that soul does not exist, because if nothing is permanent, everything is temporary, then how come the soul that we believe that it resides in human body, it will be permanent? So therefore they say that the existence of soul cannot be permanent. So therefore they deny the existence of soul. Henceforth they are called as Anatmavada. The last one, unlike Charvaka, where Charvaka believe that everything happens in an accidental way, because they are called as accidentalism. If you see that Charvaka and Buddhism both belong to the heterodox system, so that means they don't accept Veda as an authority. They don't accept God as well. But see the difference of opinion. Charvaka said that everything happens accidentally. So therefore they are the subscriber of accidentalism, because for them everything happens accidentally. No one can claim that he or she is responsible for making the event to happen, because a human being has a limited knowledge, cannot be responsible for each and every things to be happening in this earth. Contrast to this opinion, Buddhists, though belong to the heterodox group, said that everything has a cause and everything is related. Nothing has happened without a cause. That means there is a cause and effect relation that is believed by Buddhism, and henceforth they claim that if the world exists, if the universe exists, if the cosmos exists, there is a cause behind that. And we will be explaining what are those causes. So these are the parameters which guides all the Buddhist monk to live in their own life. And the last point, all Buddhists, some or other form, accept that Nirvana is possible. That means there will be a stage where one can claim that I am not suffering, I am not getting any pain though I am living in this earth. And this is possible if one stick to the eightfold path known as Ashtanga Marga prescribed by Buddhism. So these are the common agreement you find all the schools in Buddhism. Now, four noble truths, as I said, that Gautam Buddha was living in a royal palace where he was enjoying all the materialistic pleasure. He was receiving all the happiness that a human being is supposed to receive. But he had seen a saint, an old age person, a sick person, and so on and so forth. Then he realized that Everyone has to go through these are the stages some or other form, and this makes him vibrant to search for the truth, and he realizes that by staying in his royal palace it is not possible. Therefore, he accepts asceticism. He renounced all the worldly pleasures and had gone to a place and has done tapasya there and concentration there, and at the age of 80 he got Mahaparinirvana, that means the enlightenment of knowledge, and the knowledge whatever he got it, all things are depicted in his Four Noble Truths. The first noble truth saying that suffering, dukkha, that means we all human beings are suffering in this earth. That is a very realistic and practical point of view. Further, they said that if this is so, we must find out that what are the causes responsible for suffering. So therefore, the second noble truth is talks about dukkha samudaya, causes of suffering. And the third noble truth, they said that if we know that we are suffering and there is a cause for suffering, that means there are possibility where we can stop the suffering. If we dig out the root causes which results us to suffer, then we can easily stop the suffering. And how we can do that? They say that there is a way you must practice, there is a guidelines you have to follow, then only you can cease the suffering that you are having in this earthly life. So therefore, the four noble truths they said, one is suffering, the second one is causes of suffering, the third one is cessation of suffering, and the fourth one is the way leading to the cessation of suffering. In Sanskrit, if I say that dukkha, dukkha samudaya, dukkha nirodha marga. So these are the four noble truths he preaches to his all followers. Further said, there is an interesting example if you find in Buddhist literature, that once he has taken some of the leaves from Sonsupa tree and shown to his disciples and asked the questions that, do you think I have taken all the leaves of that Sonsupa tree? Then all the disciples said no. By listening the answer no from his disciples, he said that it is like this, since you know that these leaves are not the all leaves from that Sonsupa tree, in the same way the way I am teaching, it is not the full form of it. There are many other things remains to teach you. And why I am not teaching? Because these are not related to the practical life of an individual. For example, whether the world is an eternal or not, whether the soul exists when the body dies or not, many other issues which we all find in a contradictory form in the Vedas, that we need not to discuss. Since we thought that we need not to discuss, that does not mean that things are not exist. Therefore, they said that like this example, like as you find that these are the leaves are not the whole leaves of that Sonsupa tree, in the same way the teaching I am giving, it's not it's in full form. You have to find out many other options as well. You have also realized that what I am teaching, it is very minimal in its kind. There are many other things remains in this world to teach, and there are many other things remains in this world to discuss further. Henceforth, he said that the dukkha or suffering that I am telling may be very less, but you might be finding there are different variety and forms of suffering in this earth. If you see his argument, how valid it is, how reliable, how rational, how practical in its standpoint. So in this way, Buddhist disciples followed the Buddhist teaching, what Buddhism said about the worldly affairs, about the human being, about the human sufferings. Now we will be focusing now 4 noble truths very clearly and exhaustively, because these are the cream point. As I said, that Buddha, after getting enlightenment, after getting Mahaparinirvana in the age of 80, whatever he teaches to his disciples, all are depicted in the 4 noble truths. Now therefore, it is now our time to discuss in its full form. Now the first one is dukkha. According to Buddhism, is of 3 types. One is dukkha dukkha, second one is viparinama dukkha, and the third one is sankara dukkha. What is dukkha dukkha? In the first point, he explains that everything in this world is painful, because you have a relation with someone and someone is detached from you, you are feeling pain. You love to eat something, you cannot get that food, that is also painful. You want to live somewhere, you cannot leave that place, therefore it is a suffering. You consume anything excess, it also leads to suffering. You want to study something, but your family members do not want that subject, therefore it is suffering. You want to go somewhere, someone is protecting you not to go there, it is a suffering. In the night you are sleeping and you cannot have a good sleep, it is also suffering. So therefore, in each steps of your life, suffering will be there. This is the mean dukkha dukkha, sarvam dukkha. Everything is suffering and painful in this earth. Now the second point they said, viparinama dukkha. In this point, he said that nothing is permanent in this world. We love each other, we have affection, fellow feeling, benevolence, and we also empathy. We show our empathy, sympathy to others by considering he or she is a human being, is a rational animal. But however, since nothing is permanent, this leads to suffering. You love to your gut pain. After certain time, the pain won't be maintaining its own color, won't maintaining its shape, as well as many other things. Therefore, you may not be liking that pain as you had liked some time back. Since nothing is permanent in this earth, it leads to suffering. That is called viparinama dukkha. The third one is sankara dukkha. In sankara dukkha, Buddhism said that we all people are suffering in this earth because of I-ness, within quote and unquote I-ness. What is I-ness? I-ness stands for ego, ahankar of an individual. We as a human being, we claim that is mine, this is mine, or I have done that, I said so. So whenever you say I, this is mine, in all the cases you find that you are coming down to a level where you claim that this is completely yours. No one can share that, no one can take away from this, and you think that you have a right to preserve that. So whenever something comes in your utterances, in your expression, in your written, verbal and your facial expression, this is mine, he or she is my friend, when you say my, mine, all because of I-ness, we are attaching to the different objects differently, and henceforth we are behaving towards the different objects differently. For example, say this is my, this is, if you say that this is my laptop, you behave differently. When you say that is not my desktop, you behave towards the desktop differently. When you say that this is the book of my interest, you behave differently. When you say that movie is not of my interest, then you behave towards that a particular movie in any language differently. Therefore, we have attachment towards different objects in this world differently, and because of the attachment we think that this object will remain as it is for all the times. However, it is not so. Neither we as a human being or an animal will be remaining forever, or neither we as a human being living in this earth forever, nor the objects to whom we are attaching, it will remain forever. So in both the cases, if nothing will remain permanently, then why at all we claim that something is I, this is mine, or that is not yours? So therefore, because of the I-ness, we all are suffering. We think that everything I can accumulate, everything I can attain, everything I can achieve, and henceforth this really causes us to suffer while living in this earth. So therefore, the desire to achieve, the desire to attain, the desire to accumulate many more things in a short span of life, and by considering these are mine, this leads us to suffer. And henceforth, here Buddhism claims that suffering you find in a different form. First, suffering in a very wider perspective is said, then he said that suffering because of nothing is permanent in this earth, and the third one is that because we as a human being responsible for suffering in this earth, because we claim something I, we claim something mine. So in this way he explains that we all human beings are suffering because of our desire and attachment towards the different objects in this earth. Now coming to the second point, the second noble truth, where he said that dukkha samudaya, that means causes of suffering. If we know that we are suffering, that means there are causes lead to suffering. What are the causes? He is saying that all human beings, since they are attached to different objects differently, they want to achieve many more things. And since they try to do many karmas, and by some or other form they could not able to, by some or other reasons they could not able to perform all the karma. So therefore they have an urge to live in the next life. They have an urge to rebirth, so that they can able to finish their fixed task. So because of the cycle of birth and death, he or she clinging towards the different objects differently, and therefore say that suffering starts. In this case, they said that birth and death are not the real causes. It is causes that we have desire to do so. We have desire to suffer. We have desire to do many more things in this earth. Since we have a desire, since we want to fall in that trap of cycle of birth and death, we suffer. The second point they said that apart from this cycle of birth and death, we have many desires, like we have a wealth desire for enjoyment of life, we have a life desire because we want to live for a longer time, we want to achieve many more things, we have a sex desire because of a sexual life. So therefore they say that there are three types of desires generally you find in case of a human being when he or she is living in this earth. The first one is that life desire for the enjoyment of life, wealth desire for the worldly pleasures, and sex desire for the sexual pleasures. And all sorrows, all pain or suffering arise because we are ignorant. We are ignorant in the sense that we think that by attaching to the different objects differently, we can achieve many more things. And since we are having so much attachments to different objects differently, this leads us to suffer. And it happens because we are ignorant. We do not know that our life also not even permanent. Like our life, others' life as well as other inanimate objects are not eternal. Henceforth, it is because of the ignorant we think that we need different pleasure. We need sexual pleasure, we need wealth pleasure, we need life pleasure, and many more pleasure. And because of this reason, we are suffering. So in this way, in the second noble truth, Buddhism, Gautama Buddha explains that what are the causes really leads to suffer in this earth. What are the causes really responsible for suffering, for make us suffering in this earth. Now continuing further, they said that the causes of suffering are explained in the theory of dependent origination. In the dependent origination, what is that? That nothing is fixed, nothing is complete in its full form, nothing is very pure in its full form. Everything is related to other things. Everything can be explained in its relative. You cannot explain a concept completely exhaustively. You cannot reach to a point saying that whatever I have explained, that is the end. After that, no one can explain further. So therefore they say that everything is relative. Pratitya Samutpada saying that dependent origination. If you divide the Sanskrit, Pratitya Samutpada, it says that those are the objects which are dissolved in this earth, they appear once again. That means there is a relation from one object to another object. Say that this is the foundation of Buddhist metaphysics. It is also known as Bhava Chakra. Chakra means there is a circle where we all people are moving in that circle. As a result, we are suffering, and this happens because we are ignorant to identify that this cause is really responsible to make us to suffer in this earth. It expresses that the Bhava Chakra or Pratitya Samutpada expresses that everything is dependent with each other. Everything is dependent with other. One thing is dependent on another. For example, a chair to be built or construct, it depends on some other equipments, and that equipment has to depend on others. So in this case, everything is dependent on others. For example, for your study, you have to depend on the classroom teaching as well as your class notebooks as well as your own study materials. To prepare the study materials, you have to depend on your writing pad as well as dot pen, so on and so forth. So in this way, everything is dependent on other. Further saying that this is the chakra through which we are moving, it is known as Dwadasa Nidana, because it contains 12 steps. And what are these 12 steps? This is very interestingly said by Buddhism. Now let us know these steps. It is a very simple way said that why there is pain or suffering. Initially they claim that we all human beings are suffering in this earth. Now the first question they pose, why we are suffering? Then their answer would be, because we born in this earth. They say, why do we born in this earth? They say that because there is a will to become. We have a desire to live in this earth longer time as well as to rebirth, to take rebirth in the next life as well. They are saying that why there is a will to become. He is saying that the answer would be because we are clinging to the objects of the world. Now further question, if you see that, they said that why are we clinging to the objects of the world? The answer Buddha said that because we have desired to cling to the objects of the world. He is saying that we all the human beings, we have a desire to attach with the different objects differently for different purposes. We can't live in empty hand. We need to depend on other objects as well to survive in this earth. Since we have a different attachment, we behave differently towards the different objects. Therefore they said that we have desired to cling to the objects of the world. Why have we those desires? The answer Buddha said that because we are experiencing many things in this world. And further question asks, why are we experiencing all these objects in this world? Buddhist answer that we have some sorts of contact to the objects of the world. Since we are a human being, we have a sense organs. We have 5 sense organs, and if you include mind, then we have a 6 sense organs. Because of 6 sense organs, we are associating or attaching to the different objects differently for our different purposes. Therefore they say that why are those contact found? The answer Buddhism said that because we possess the 6 sense organs. And why are these 6 sense organs? Further question imposed to Buddhism. Buddhists said that because we have a form and a name. What is form and what is name? He is saying that every human being must have a shape, size, form, and identified as a name. and since you live in a particular place with a particular geographical area and so forth, you have a name and form, and because of that you are having 6 organs and attaching to the different objects differently. Now the 9th question, if you see that, they said that why do we have a form and a name? Here Buddhists said that because we are conscious or rational being. Then the question imposed on Buddhism saying that why are we having consciousness? He is saying that because we have impression. What is impression? That means you attach to objects, you understand that object, you know the different element of that object, and that you have captured in your mind in the form of impression. In the later period, once you deal with that object, you can remind the fact that you had also attached to that objects in the past. You can able to recollect all the information and impose on that object. Therefore saying that once we are attaching to the different objects in this world, we are having an impression to that objects, and because of the different impressions we identify the objects differently. We certainly say that the table is not same as chair, the pen is not same as a computer. Then the question arises, why we have impressions? Here Buddhists claim that, or Buddhists answer that because we are ignorant or having no proper knowledge. Now you can see these are the 12 questions answers. There are 12 spokes in a wheel. Therefore it is called 12 nidana or dwadash nidana. It is because of this 12 spokes in the wheel we want to take rebirth in the next life. As a result we are suffering, and all these causes because we are ignorant. Here Buddhists claim that because we do not have a proper knowledge, we do not think that what is the result of attachment towards the different objects, we are suffering in this earth. Now if you find this, if you see this, these are 12 links, the first 2 points, that why we all human beings are suffering and having pain in this earth, and the second point, these 2 points deals with our past life. The last 3 points, 10, 11 and 12 talks about the future life, and remains discuss about the present life, why one need to understand that we are suffering in this earth. Therefore they said that nothing can be come into being accidentally, everything is caused by something, and that is the principal law of cosmos. Therefore they claim that everything is dependent on other. See the question answer they have given, each question you have asked, Buddhism has an answer, and the last they conclude that it is because of the ignorant we are really suffering in this earth. So this is the second step we have covered, and we will be covering dukkha nirodha, the cessation of suffering, in the next class as well. I hope you have understood the first steps of Buddhism. One is that dukkha, and the second one is that causes of suffering. Thank you so much.